I guess unless you just really love the end results. Because there's a lot of people who hate what they do. They hate every single second of it. Like, I hate running. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy, like, I even feel I sometimes go on morning runs. I do not enjoy the middle of the run, or the beginning of the run, or the hours before the run, or the 5 minutes after the run. The only part of the run I love is saying after I finish, damn, I actually did that run. That's the only part I love. Meaning I love the end goal, but I don't love every single part going towards it. So if you find something you really, really want, for instance, for most people, it's living, which is why they do money, because you need money to get food to live. You're still going to do that task and proficiently enough to get to that end goal if you really love that goal. It's those people who have end goals that are different from everyone else's of, oh, I just want money. I don't just want money. I want the most amount of money. I want all of the money. So if you try to find a goal like that, where it's, you might not love the journey, but you love the end goal, you'll fight tooth and nail to get to that.
First of all, welcome to the podcast. Pleasure having you on. I'm so glad that you decided to wrestle this year because it's been amazing getting to know you, seeing the work ethic, seeing the mindset you bring to the program. It's been amazing. I mean, there's no reason you had to wrestle this year. You came here to play football, you did great in the football team, you're going to play football next year, which I'm really excited for you about, and decided to pop out and wrestle, which was great because we need a heavyweight, but also we just need someone like you on the team. I think you gave us a lot of culture, you gave us a lot of work ethic, and I'm just so happy you decided to wrestle this year.
Thank you. It was nice being here.
What are some of the best experiences you had on the team?
Wrestling or football?
Sorry, wrestling, and football.
Probably the tournaments. Football games are nothing like a wrestling tournament. I definitely think they're more fun because you're playing for a longer period of time. But it's kind of interesting going to see like my teammate have his own little thing, and then I'm going, and we're just doing that repeatedly over and over and over again. So I'm guessing maybe senior nights wrestling, especially with all the music, that was really fun.
Yeah, senior night was amazing. I mean, we didn't have the music last year, but I think this year was all more lively, a lot more energetic. In what ways do you think you like really developed this year in the wrestling team? So I know a lot of people who come and wrestle, they say that they develop in different ways that they haven't seen when they play other sports before. So what ways do you think like is the biggest thing you developed being on the team?
Develop athletic overall or develop for just wrestling?
Either way, anything you develop, it could be like a skill or a personality trait, it could be anything.
I'm not really sure because it's a little bit different than football. In football, your awareness is less of, oh, this person's doing this move, so I want to do this move. It's more of, you have one move and you're defending everything that could happen after that. So like, say someone puts both hands up, I'm doing a double swipe no matter what, and even if they put their hands up again, I'm doing, that's why it's two swipes, and then I'm moving my hand past to go forward. That's why you're able to do football moves on literal air, because your plan doesn't really change that much depending on how the person does. It changes a little bit, but they're broad strokes, versus wrestling, you actually have to go, oh, this person's doing this actively, I have to defend this actively. So maybe that might be how it is for football on like a larger level from like coaches, but wrestling was different.
Do you think more putting things together, really? Because you mentioned that football, you can practice the different moves and you're able to execute them on air and then do them when you go on the field. But maybe wrestling, there's maybe more different moves to it. It's more harder to practice just in the air and there's more complexity to it because they're all coming together. Would you say that's it?
It's not that it's harder to practice. It's more of, it's just a different way of thinking. Instead, it's like, wrestling's more similar to like, I don't know. Wrestling's more similar to doing something in the moment, and football is more similar to preparing for something and like pre-planning it. So like think of it like, wrestling is like playing chess actively, you're actively moving the pieces. Football is more like if you sat down across from someone and if you wrote out every move you're going to make, assuming they're going to make every move that you think they're going to make, and then no matter what, you're doing the same things over. So like if you make, or better yet, if you made your plan in chess before the person made their move, so you actually have to guess what they're going to do. Because in football, you don't really, most people who lose are people who think of, oh, I see a person do this, I'm going to do this. Every football coach tells me you have to almost do it on instinct. They're doing this, you're already doing your next move.
That's interesting, man. Because I never really looked at football in that way. I mean, I've only played a select few number of sports, but it's amazing how every sport brings their own unique perspective to maybe a way you can look at life. It seems that in football, it's more strategic planning and finding a way to stick to that plan. And despite maybe emotions coming in the way and desires for one team to do this, one team to do that. But it's really about everyone coming together, sticking to the plan to execute that and succeed. While wrestling is more like present moment, in the moment, make a decision. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna respond to this? How are you gonna respond to that? How are you gonna overcome this mistake you made in a 6-minute period versus a, I don't know, 1 hour, 2 hour match?
Yeah, it's definitely different strategies. In football, again, it's like you can make a very large mistake in a football game. The worst thing that's going to happen is you let up 7 points or you let up 8 points. You're never going to, if you make a small mistake in wrestling, you're done. That match is over, your season could be over just because of that. In football, there's way more chances to fail because even on the major level, someone missed a tackle, the guy made a touchdown. But even on the minor level, if you're on defense, I missed a tackle, and the guy got tackled by someone else. So there's way more chances for you to lose and still end up winning. So it's just it's a different way of thinking as a sport.
100%, man. Do you plan to ever wrestle again?
Maybe for fun. If I go D3, I'm not sure because on it really just depends. I'm not really sure.
So are you committed anywhere yet?
Not as of yet.
Where did you go to for college physio?
I went to my safety school. It will remain unnamed.
All right, we'll keep it unnamed. I'm hoping it wasn't storming over there like it was today, but how was it?
It was actually really fun. It was exactly how it is now, where every time we would go in a building, the amount of rain would be different than every time we left. So it was very temperamental.
Yeah, bro, I don't remember the last time it was this bad. I think last night I was in my room. I woke up maybe like at 4 in the morning and I felt like there was a tornado outside because the winds were crazy, bro. Like, I don't remember the last time it was like this, but I know people say that Jersey weather is all over the place and sometimes I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was like 70 outside and now it's cold again and rainy, but you live in New Jersey, you grew up here, right?
Yes.
What do you think about New Jersey weather?
I don't know, I've always had New Jersey weather. Every time I go anywhere else, it's usually the exact same because I don't stay there for long enough to observe the weather, so I don't really know.
Besides wrestling and football, have you played any other sports?
I played track, basketball, baseball. I think that's all the ones I've played, actually played a single season.
I know we were talking before about how we noticed each sport brings a unique perspective and a way you can look at life. With wrestling being this more present moment, making decisions right now, football more strategic planning. What are the perspectives have you gained playing this variety of sports? 'Cause I think a lot of people, when they specialize in a sport, they tend to see the whole world in that way and they tend to just focus on that sport. But considering you had such a variety of sports you played, what other perspectives have you gained from there?
Well, it's interesting because every team is different from every other team. So, say you have a team that's really good, that their goal is to win and they're really good, they have a lot of great athletes. They're going to play different than a team that has not a lot of great athletes but can still have the exact same winning record because you just train the kids differently. Like I play on football, when I play basketball, I play both rec and I play my team's basketball. They played basketball completely different even though it's the exact same positions. The height distribution was basically the exact same. We played completely different because people are at different levels of just athleticism. So, if your question is, how do I change my outlook on life based on each sport? It's not. I don't know how to answer that question.
In what ways when you played basketball at your rec team and you said your school team as well? Mm-hmm. In what ways was it different? You mentioned that it's very different the way they approach the game and the way they train people. So what ways do you see?
Well, one, the rules were different. When you're playing on rec, or at least at the age I was, you have to have a certain amount of players play a certain amount of time because people were paying for it. So there's no way that you're a kid who isn't athletic and they just don't get to play, even though they signed up. So no matter what, everyone has to play the exact same amount of time, period. So it really changed do I want to put my stars at this time or do I put my stars on this time? Do I want to keep people fresh or do I want to keep switching them out rapid fire? Versus on my school team, that rule was not really there. It was just you gotta win no matter how. And plus, I was not the best. I was probably the second to last, level-wise player on my school team. But I was also the second tallest, and easily the strongest. So whenever they were going up against someone who's really big, they'd always send me out there because I wouldn't get dominated by them, even if they were taller than me.
You also wrote that if you aren't naturally better than someone, you can beat them by outworking them constantly. Mm-hmm. So how have you seen that play out in basic play?
So it's actually really interesting. I think the main difference between this school and my old school is my old school didn't have, like, we had a lot of good players, but they weren't good just because they were born football players. There was not, oh, I was naturally 6'6", 285, and like strong. They usually were okay players, and the school fostered them to become good players. Like on my last year, there was this kid. He was probably like he was shorter than you, a little bit more muscular than you, but he was not that much more athletic than you. And he was dominant on the field only because he wanted it more than every single person he would play against. Like literally, we would play against people who like hadn't lost a game the entire season, and he's playing them like you're playing a freshman. No matter what, he would always try 100%, no matter what. And he would outwork kids who were better than him. Like in my league, there was this team that had really poor coaches, but really great players. So every year there'd be several kids going D1. Those college coaches would come in, recruit, say, oh, this person has a good athleticism. They'll take them, they'll train them to be really good players. But they weren't able to play well because it's not that they didn't want it enough, but they just weren't able to constantly put in that effort. Versus at Notre Dame, they will constantly be giving you that effort. We work the entire summer, we work every time.
I wonder how it's possible for someone to gain that, right? That, I don't know, we can call it dog energy, that energy to just want to go 110, 120% every single day. I feel like I've seen you have that energy at times on the team, and I've seen definitely people who have that energy. Maybe in different periods of my life, I've been able to access a piece of that. So do you think it's something that people can develop with time, or do you think it's something that people are born with and that maybe it's from how they were raised, but how do you think people can really find that energy within themselves?
You just have to love whatever you're doing. Like, it literally doesn't matter what it is. If you find something you genuinely love doing, you can just like overwhelm everyone in it, because whenever everyone else is trying, they're going to take a break from it. Your break is doing that thing. So like when I'm exercising, I love to exercise. It's just what I love to do. So when I'm like, if I want to cool off or I'm having a bad day at school, I love to get in the gym and put up some heavy numbers because that's what I love to do. It's not working for me, it's what I'm doing to relax. That will always get you faster than or further than someone who's just doing it to get better. Because if you're doing it to get better, sure, they may have natural ability. They might be able to build muscle faster than you, or they're naturally taller than you. But they're not going to be able to put in that effort because they're specifically saying, oh, I'll do 2 hours this time, 2 hours this time, versus, oh, if I'm home, hey, there's weight, let's see if I can move it. You're never going to be able to catch up because they're constantly working even when they're relaxing.
I think it is a culture these days that people don't really have much love for what they do. Whether that be athletically, or it be academically, or it be even like working jobs. I think there is this lack of love. And I think there's two ways you can approach that, right? One thing you could be like, try to find the thing you love the most. Go do some exploring. Try to find that hobby or that activity you love the most, and try to do as much of that as possible. But it also doesn't mean that you should try to not. You can also find love in what you do, even if it's not some magical, idealistic thing. I feel like I used to believe that, oh yeah, all the stuff I'm doing, like it's boring work. I want to find that one thing I love doing, like that one project, that one business idea that I would love to work on. But you can also find love doing things you do every day. And I think that's a skill that you can find gratitude wherever you are in life, right? If you're working a 9-to-5 job, I think you could find gratitude there. If you're working a job, I think you could find love for anything you do. But I think for people, they could take both paths. I don't think they should just be accepting of the situation they're in their life. They should still try to find that one thing. Like, if you weightlifting, you absolutely love doing it, do as much of it as possible. But I think you can also find love for just what you do on a day-to-day basis.
I think that, yeah, you're right that there are things that people can like say, oh, I love to do this. But it's more of, if it's a job, you're usually there because you love to make money, or like you want to do stuff because you want to have money. Because no one, unless you're literally, the only thing that brings you joy in life is seeing numbers go up in your bank account, in which case you would do more than just like 9 to 5. We literally do everything it takes to get money, do like grinding, flipping things, no matter what. But if you're like, I think, to get to what you're saying, I don't think that it's that people don't have something that they can like. It's just that the things that they like, they don't really have access to that much, or it's something that people don't think as productive. Like in Maribel, everyone loves ping. Like they don't love ping pong, but they're amazing at ping pong. There's no benefit to that. They're not going to go to the Olympics for ping pong. So if they said, hey, I want to play football in college, I want to just play ping pong for fun, it's just not going to work out. So a lot of people have to balance that, oh, I love it, to, oh, I have to, make money. So there's a lot of things that in that like balance of, oh, I need it to live versus, oh, I want to have fun, you end up losing some things. Because say if my goal in life, I just want to play ping pong for fun. If that was my only goal, all right? After I graduate and I leave my home, I need money to buy a ping pong table and have a place to play ping pong. So that means I have to get a job. Every time, the more time I spend in that job, is less time I spend playing ping pong. Eventually, I want to say, let's optimize this. I want to get the most amount of time to play ping pong, which means I need the most amount of money. In which you're going to take a job. It takes a lot of brain work, a lot of focus, because you're going to need to get money to play ping pong for longer. You do that for a certain amount of time until you're no longer able to play ping pong at the level you go back to, at the level you wanted to. Now you're really rich. You come back to play ping pong and you don't love it as much. Now what? It's like, I feel like that's why it's so fun to have like a hobby that you can make money in. Like if you make art that you just love, like there's a story about this guy who makes these hot rods, which are like, it's like this tiny little car. It's almost like, those cars that little kids are in? It's like that, but it's just an actual car. And the guy makes like 6 of them a year. And it's just because he does it for fun. And like he only sells when he gets bored of it. It's because he can make money off it, and it's something that he loves. So he found that perfect balance. And that just doesn't exist for a lot of people. Like if I love collecting rocks, and I like collecting basalt, which is just like when there's salt in a rock. I'm never gonna make money off of that. I could like sell that online. I'm not gonna make a living off of that. That's just not sustainable. So not every hobby you can really like sustain yourself in, but you can still find something you love and find that little aspect of it that you love and just maximize that. Like you should do that better than everybody else in that task.
Yeah, I agree, man. And the lifestyle you portray is a very extreme lifestyle. And I like that a lot, right? This idea that you don't just like making money. You love making money, and you're gonna be working all damn day to make money. Or you love weightlifting, so you're not just gonna go to the gym and weightlift, but you're gonna come back home and just lift random shit and start lifting. But you portray this very extreme lifestyle that when you find that one thing you love, do as much of it as possible. And while I don't think most people are on that extreme side of things, I think I have seen across my life that I have tended to lean more to the extreme side of things, where when there's one goal I really want, or there's one thing I love doing, I just want to go all in and do as much of it as possible. And if I look back at the last 4 years of my life, every year I feel like I've been a different person just because of the different season of my life, the new obsession I've had, and the more I've been delving into that thing, right? Like you can probably see this right now with, I found that I enjoy talking to people, I love learning from people, I love watching podcasts. I'm like, I want to start my own thing. This is a hobby I love that can be monetized if you put a lot of work into it. So it really fits the category that you define. So I thought that, okay, this could be that thing for me. This could be the thing that I go all in, extreme in, and make that into the hobby I love doing. But one thing I've also heard from a lot of people that have somehow managed to live a lifestyle where their hobby became their occupation, they started to lose love for that hobby as well. Because all of a sudden, it's no longer a hobby you do for fun, it's now something you do for a living. And then you have to change the way you do it in a way that it's not like really an art form anymore, but it's more something you do to make money, right? So for example, let's say there was an alternate version of me that loved doing the podcast thing, and he loved doing it in a very special way, the way he liked to do it, but then he found out that in order to make money off of it, you have to make it in this certain way, you have to make thumbnails this certain way, you have to make the length of the podcast this certain way. And so when you make this thing into something that you use to make money off of, all of a sudden you don't even love it anymore because you're 10 years down the line and you're doing something that's just another job again. It's not even the thing you started doing in the first place. So it's really this balance, because there are people that I've met that absolutely love what they do. And it's a hobby. For example, Coach Rivera, you saw him, right? In the wrestling room. He's been wrestling since he was 5 years old, and he's still wrestling today. And all the jobs he's had, whether it's literally wrestling in the NCAA to making elite wrestling, he's always found a way to make his hobby to a job, but still love it. But at the same time, there's so many people that fall down the other rabbit hole. So again, it's not a one size fits all, but it is a very ideal lifestyle, I think, of where you have a hobby, you just absolutely love working, and you can make money off it, and you find a way to retain that love for it as well.
Yeah, I also agree that it's like there is that balance to it where you want to love it, but you also don't want to have it be your sole income. Because no matter what, if you're trying to monetize something, you will always lose fun in it. Like no matter what. Like and also when you say that I have an extreme like lifestyle, you're only seeing me for like what, 6 months now? I have so many times like switched things I love. Like I have a lathe at home. I have tons of epoxy in my dorm because I have so many projects I just throw myself into for a little bit, then I come out. And I throw myself into it a little bit, and then I come out. Which is one of the reasons why I love like creative projects in school, because I'm able to use the little teeny tiny skills I picked up from all these little things and merge them together. Like for an art project once, we had to get a notebook. And I forgot to tell my parents to buy a notebook for me. So I just literally looked under my bed until I found a notebook that I made in third grade. It's freshman year, it's just a senior year. A notebook that I made in senior year, like from scratch. Like I literally put the piece of paper into little pamphlets. I literally took beaver hide from eBay and tanned it myself to make the cover for it. And I just did that because it was a hobby. Like I don't know how to get to, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, I honestly was lost in thought.
Yeah, all good. It's definitely a fun lifestyle. A lifestyle where you're able to just go all in in something. But I think if you look around, there's not that many people like that. There's not that many people like you. And I think a reason is because it's so hard to live a lifestyle like that. Because we have a tendency in our human nature to conform. And there's always that activation energy you need when you want to start a new project, this fear of what people will think about you. What if this fails? What if this doesn't go well? And there's always that, okay, if I do this project and it doesn't go well, then people will look at me like, why the hell am I wasting all my time doing this thing? But maybe they can't see the side that you actually just love doing the thing in the first place. But there's definitely that few people have of doing something that they really want to do because they have that weird genetic love for the thing, this weird primal love for this weird activity. And I think everyone does have something different. I think every person is so unique in a way that there's just different activities that they're inclined to. There's different hobbies that they just find some sort of fulfillment and joy in. But there's just so many barriers holding them back. There's these fears, these excuses why they can't do it. And that's why if you look around you, most people are just normal people. Most people don't do crazy shit like making scrap notebook art projects, or I think the other project we're working on trying to scale the entirety of Annenberg building on some 3D software, or even starting a podcast. I think people are afraid to do things they really want to do because of maybe society's perception or the fear of failure or this fear of what's the point.
Well, yeah, I feel like that is the case where a lot of people are afraid to throw themselves into something. If I were to give someone advice from that, I know it's kind of hard to say, just don't care, but like, I've met a lot of people in my life, and a lot of people thought that I'm a weird person. And in the end, yeah, they're going to for a little bit, but after that, they're just going to get to know you and think, oh, that's just something that they love. They're going to say, yeah, it's weird that you're doing that, why are you doing that, but what difference does it make? It's weird that you're doing it. So what? If you're finding fun in that, just do it until you don't find fun in it. And if you fail or if you quit, you still did that. You can still look back in your life and say, man, I did half of that, where most people did none of that. And I still feel like most people will eventually find something that they fall into. And even though, yeah, a lot of people are like a little bit like they seem basic to when you're talking to them, that's just they don't open up to tell you, oh, I like to draw on the side, or I like to write on the side. Because sometimes they do that, and it's not good. Like, I had this friend who wrote stories. None of them were good. None of them were good. Like, they knew that, though. They knew that their storylines didn't really make sense, their characters were really basic, but they just did it because they loved it. They didn't do it for everyone else, they didn't do it to publish their story, they just did it because they like writing stories. So when you're doing something for yourself, for fun, don't worry about what other people have to say about it. So that's why you can do a rec league for a sport that you're not good at, because most people there aren't really great at it. And then just throw yourself in, admit to yourself, yeah, I'm not good at this. I'm gonna fail a bunch of times. That's what I did with wrestling. In the beginning of wrestling, I was dying. Every time we were running around, I was saying, man, I'm not gonna be able to do this, I'm gonna quit. Like all that time, I was thinking, I'm the oldest guy in here. There are freshmen going around here, loop-de-loop-de-loop. Like when we were doing the light, I'm like just trying to make it through the entire practice. But like, I just knew that, hey, yeah, I'm gonna look weird doing this. It's gonna look really weird that I'm, 275, I'm being slow, outpaced by like a freshman is 130, but still, I'm having fun. At the end of the day, I didn't even stay with wrestling because I loved wrestling more than like, I don't know, sitting around at home or anything. I just did it because it's fun. That's why I stayed with it. And just, if people just find something they love just for the joy of doing that, and just don't care about what other people say, or if they do care about what other people say, just know that after a while, those people are going to think that it's fine. They just throw themselves into it.
I think that it's better to be on the weird side than the conform side, because I think if you're authentic and you do what you genuinely love to do, even though maybe 90% of people will hate you for it or will think you're weird for it. But then you're not, I don't think you're capable of receiving true love from someone if you're not authentically who you are, because then you're just playing the persona of just being a normal person, like showing yourself as like the normal person that's conforming to society. And I think if you're the normal person that is afraid to go out and do things, and you're afraid to go out and try things, and you're just a normal person trying to fit into the social crowd, you'll be praised by most people. 90% of people will praise you. But to feel like that true like love and appreciation from someone for what you do as a person, who you are as a person, I don't think you can really feel that unless you're like who you are authentically. Because then when you get compliments for who you are, you see someone praise you for who you are, then it feels like it's really yours, right? If someone just praises you for just being normal, then it's like, okay, well, they praise everyone else for being normal. But I think for that reason, like when someone praises me for like some work that I've done on the podcast, or someone praises me for something that's so unique to me that literally nobody else does, like the fact that my screen time is like 20 minutes on my phone, or the fact that I spend like hours and hours working on this project, 90% of people think that's kind of weird. But the people that really praise you and appreciate that, then you really feel like that's true love. Like you feel like you receive that as a person. And to your other point, that there's a lot more than people that you don't know, I think I learned that lesson when I started this podcast, because I've done 26 episodes with people. A lot of people I've known my whole life, or at least for high school. I have a conversation with them and I learn 100 things about them I didn't know before. All these different things, like all these different similarities we had as people, all these like strange, weird things they did in the background that they didn't tell people. I think everyone does have that. And I think having these conversations will open my eyes to see that most people are very unique in different ways and have unique interests, which makes this life really special.
I'm not sure what you meant by like being praised for being normal, because usually when people are average expectation of normal, they're just like they're considered an NPC. They just sink into the background, and people just don't even talk about them. So what do you mean by praise for being normal?
I think praise is the wrong word. I think accepted is the right word. Because when you're more like other people, they feel more comfortable around you. I don't think people like something that's different or change, or because it gives them a false sense of reality. I think people like the way our brain is designed. We like normality. We like things always being the same, which is why we're more accepting of people that are more like us or more like society, because they're easy to deal with. They're more predictable, which is why I think as humans we're so group oriented that we put people in boxes like conservative and liberal. We put people in all these like boxes, and we all support this one team. I think we put people in these boxes so that it gives them like a normal way to predict their behavior. And I think because of that, they're more accepted by society and they feel like at peace with that. But when I say that true praise for being who you are, I think people who lean toward that weird side, or they're more open about the things that are unique to them, their peculiarities, they receive a lot more hate than the people that are accepted, but the praise they receive, the small praise, I think that fuels that much more. I think that's the point I was trying to draw across.
I'm not sure if hate's the right type of word, because there's a lot of people who are not really, they're idiosyncratic, they're different from what everyone else is, and they're not hated per se, they're more of just either ostracized or made fun of, which like, that is, for some people that's how they make friends. Their friends are only their friends because they're the only people who, when they make fun of them, they don't think that's literally made fun, they're making fun of them or making fun with them, which I guess makes sense, because if someone is making fun of you who's not your friend, you're going to be more mad than if one of your friends say something odd about you. So I'm not sure if what you're saying is exactly what I would believe.
Yeah, I think that's again just going back to the wording of it. Maybe hate's the wrong word, but I guess if you lean toward that side, you'll be less accepted by people, maybe. Or maybe, I think the words you described work well, like ostracized or more left out. Yeah, I still think that dynamic is still there, where the ability to. What do you think about how compliments affect you when you're more normal versus you're more unique? Do you think compliments affect you in different ways as well, or?
I'm not sure. I've never really been considered normal. I've always been the largest person, the blackest person. I've always been at some extreme of something, so I don't really know what it's like to be normal.
I see. I think another thing I really liked about your story, we're going to go back to one of your childhood stories here. You wrote, "These days people aren't curious enough to find answers. When someone wants to know something, they Google it once and accept the first information or TikTok they find. The feeling of exploration isn't really there today." And when I read this, I really agreed with it. At the same time, I could see this like as a mirror reflecting back at me in my own life, because I know there's points in my life where maybe I enter that like curiosity phase and I'm really curious about something, but at the same time, most of my life when I want to know something, I Google it, or I just like jump to an answer or jump to the first answer I can find, because it takes time, and it's time consuming, and we're trying to like be efficient and productive and not waste time in the exploration stage of things. We just want answers. So walk me through the early childhood stories of like the encyclopedias and all the experiences you've had with that.
So basically, when we were younger, it's actually really funny. So my dad works in IT. So he's always known things about computers, even before that was like the main thing that people like use for information. But still, when we were growing up, there was always the research, which a lot of it's not exactly true, that like video games cause violence and like a lot of the internet's going to like cause your kids to be like evil or something like that. So my parents leaned us away from constantly being on the internet. So whenever we had some questions, which we'd always have questions, the best way to solve it was when my dad came home, have him Google it. But when he wasn't home, my mom said, oh, go check the encyclopedias. Because one year, my library, which was like, they were doing renovations and they were selling a bunch of stuff. And they sold an entire set of encyclopedias, which I think the newest one was like from 2011, which I guess was kind of new back then, but still, it all felt super old because nobody really used books even back then, or at least not for finding information. But it like gave us the hunger for, if we had a question, we'd first look up in the encyclopedia, and we would know for a matter of fact that wasn't going to be enough. Because even if it was a large question, you can only look it up per word. You can only look up, like say if I wanted to know, how does a carburetor work? I can only look up car, and then carburetor, and then I would know essentially just a little bit of information. So when my dad came home, we just asked him, all right, now what is this? And then we get an answer. And then what is this? And then how does that work? All the way until we knew everything we wanted to know about that thing. And people just don't really do that anymore, because it's really easy to just, look up, how is a carburetor? It's a piece of a car. They'll never want more information, which is technically fine, because they're not really going to need more information unless you want to buy a carburetor, put a carburetor in the car. But it just limits people, because you don't know when someone tells you something and the first thing you look up is just like that base level. A lot of times that information isn't inherently the truest thing, it's just the most popular thing. Which obviously there's a lot of cases where it is true, the first thing you look up is the right thing, but it's always more fun and more informative to do more research on it, to learn more and more about that until you know everything about that, both sides of the argument, both sides of how that thing works. Like, I don't know, say if it was planned obsolescence. When I first looked up planned obsolescence, that was like one of my first rabbit holes I fell down into. I just first started looking up, it was washing machines. Do washing machines go bad for a certain amount of time? And then I kept going on and on. So I learned about the first ever big news story about it, which was the light bulb, because the light bulb companies just kept lengthening the amount of time the light bulb would last until they realized, wait a minute, this isn't going to be cost efficient. So then they literally said, all right, we're all getting together, we're planning to always have it at this length. And then I just learned more and more about that, because that goes into World War I, because the reason why that fell apart was because of World War I, but the ideas kept going on after World War I. Or not World War I, maybe World War II. I'm not actually sure which one it is anymore. I'll probably look it up again. But still, that sort of thing isn't really done anymore because people don't have time. They don't really need to know that information, but I just think it would be better if everyone did, because then they would have a better understanding of every idea that they take. Because if you just look up the first information that you find, then whatever everyone else is thinking is what you're going to think. And you're just not I don't know, I just don't like the idea of only knowing what people want you to know.
And I also think the ability you have to actually fully understand something comes through that process of searching for information. Because I don't think you can really distill information just by reading it at first glance, right? And that's why a lot of people, I think, when they see books, there's this long book that's 200 pages long about a topic, but a lot of people say, what's the point of reading the whole book? Because you can literally just look at there's only one main lesson in the whole book. What's the point of reading this whole book to get that one lesson? I can just search up the summary of the book and get the lesson and use the lesson. But you don't really understand the lesson unless you go through the process of reading how it's developed and seeing all the different pieces and nuances, and you're reading it over and over again. It's being documented in your mind, and then you have such a foundational understanding of it that you'll never have to look it up again. You'll just know it so well. And which is why even if there's a 300-page book about one topic, just one simple topic, and you read the whole book about it, my understanding of that would be so strong that I never have to go even think about the topic again. But yeah, I think it's important that we spend more time learning, because it's so easy to live in a world where we have such fast access to this information really quickly. So yeah, it's definitely really important.
Yeah, I think my favorite example of that was recently there's been a release of a tutorial on how to make an actual mechanical music box from scratch. Because for years and years on YouTube, the only tutorials have been those crank ones where it's a piece of paper and the piece of paper has holes in it. But the best ones are the ones where it's an actual drum that's spinning and that drum hits the cone. But no one really made a YouTube video on how to solve that. And it was really fun watching the guy figure out how to do that, because again, he was like one of the first people to put a tutorial out online doing that. So you can see all the mistakes he's made doing that. Like for instance, when you're doing a music box, so you want two notes to go back to back, you can't play it on the same cone, because the first cone has to play the note and then wait till it's vibrating until it stops vibrating. So you actually have to have two of the exact same length cones back to back. You'll never learn that if you just look up how a music box works. You're just gonna say, oh, it's a cone, and then there's little spikes on the cone, and that's just how it works. You never gonna learn, oh, it was this guy who did it, and there's a gear ratio to see how fast you're spinning it, and if you put a motor on this, it'll be a wind-up. How does a wind-up motor work? There's so many things you can learn by like digging down deep to figuring out everything about it versus just, oh, this is it, here's the answer, we're done.
Yeah, bro, 100% agree. It really goes back to, you've heard of the Socrates method as well, questioning. So Socrates, you probably know, is like the old philosopher from back in Greece. And his method of inquiry, as he defines it, is to just keep asking questions, and like you hear, we're doing an English class, like the definition of justice, or he defines it as this. He asks another question, why is it like this, and why is it like that, and why is it like that? And the whole book is literally just him asking questions and people giving counter arguments and asking questions, and going through this process of like discovery, just by asking questions, trying to find the answer to the question. And a book I'm reading right now is called The Goal, and it's a business book. It's supposed to be like a nonfiction book, and it's about like it's about business and how to run an efficient business. But the way this guy wrote the book is very unique. So this is a pretty old book. It's written 30 years ago, but I feel like the principles in it still last till today. And it's a pretty important book, I think, for Amazon. Their employees are required to read this book as well, I've heard. But essentially, the book is supposed to be a nonfiction book teaching you business principles. But if you read it, it's actually a fiction story. And the fiction story is of this one guy literally going through a journey to discover these principles throughout his life. Like he's working at this manufacturing plant, and he finds out that his manufacturing plant is like failing, it's falling apart, and he's been given an ultimatum that he has 3 months to fix the plant. Otherwise, he's going to be turned down, and everyone's going to lose their jobs, and it's going to be horrible. At the same time, he's dealing with a situation at home where he's never at home because he's working so much, his wife hates him, and his problem with his children. So it's really like this whole fiction story. But as you're reading it, you're like going through his life, and you're understanding, as he's making mistakes, you're understanding it through him. Kind of similar to modeling like the method that you've used in your own life, right? Of that, okay, you don't have access to just the answer online. Like you're actually going through life and building things yourself and watching a full like tutorial on how to do it. And that's kind of putting you through the eyes of the person who did it, where they're seeing how the different parts work together. It's not like, oh yeah, just do these parts together. You have to understand the foundation of how it all comes together. And in the same way, like as I'm reading it, I'm like 100 pages in, so I still have a lot of the book left, but as I'm reading it, the principles I've learned so far, they're so, I feel like, ingrained in me now, where it's not like if someone just told me, oh yeah, just run it in this way, make sure you measure these statistics, but the fact that I read the book and I went through and understand how we found out that those are the things that are actually important, and you can see like the parallels between his life and my life and things I've looked at, my understanding of it is just so much more wider, which I think just exactly reflects the process that you described.
Yeah, I find it interesting. Is that literally every employer or only every, because like Amazon has a reputation of, not just on like their like blue collar like warehouse workers, but even on their higher ups of taking them out. Because it's not a fun work environment, just not fun, but it's literally, I don't want to say toxic, because toxic has an interesting connotation now, but more of like a almost adversarial work environment. Their goal is to make money, and that's their last goal. So what do you mean by everyone at Amazon required?
It's a good question. I'm probably gonna have to get back to you because all I've read is like this little blurb on the front cover of the book saying required rooting for Amazon employees. So that's all I know about it, but I'm gonna check it out and get back to you. But I mean, Amazon is quite an amazing company. I think Jeff Bezos has done an amazing job. I was actually just watching a podcast by Jeff Bezos on Lex Friedman, just hearing his life story, and I think he also fits a lot of the things we're talking about today, because I think in the same way we're talking about having love for what you do, Jeff Bezos loves what he does. And He has this like fascination, not even just business, but also just like physics and things like that. And I think listening to that podcast, I really admire that. And I think it makes sense that you really need to love what you do to become successful in it. Like looking at the way he's worked in the past, looking at how he's built Amazon from the ground up. You can't do that unless you love it and you're working like 24 hours a day on this thing. But yeah.
I guess unless you just really love the end results. Because there's a lot of people who hate what they do. They hate every single second of it. Like, I hate running. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy, like, I sometimes go on morning runs. I do not enjoy the middle of the run, or the beginning of the run, or the hours before the run, or the 5 minutes after the run. The only part of the run I love is saying after I finish, damn, I actually did that run. That's the only part I love. Meaning I love the end goal, but I don't love every single part going towards it. So if you find something you really, really want, for instance, for most people, it's living, which is why they do money, because you need money to get food to live. You're still going to do that task and proficiently enough to get to that end goal if you really love that goal. It's those people who have end goals that are different from everyone else's of, oh, I just want money. I don't just want money. I want the most amount of money. I want all of the money. So if you try to find a goal like that, where it's, you might not love the journey, but you love the end goal, you'll fight tooth and nail to get to that.
And I think the example you give with running, I think it's also just good to do hard things throughout the day because it gives you a, a comparison to other things, and I think it makes other things easier. For example, I tried to, in the beginning of my day, I tried to do 3 of my hardest things in the first hour of my day. So what I do is I wake up early, which is pretty hard. So like for me, like if I compare it to things I do during the day, I think the 3 hardest things would be waking up early, getting in a cold shower, and then doing an hour of schoolwork. The 3 hardest things. So I make sure to do that first thing in the morning. I'll get up at 5:30, take a cold shower, and I'll work for an hour before breakfast. And I think, sure, it sucks. It sucks when the alarm goes off and you're like, I just want to sleep more. You get up, the cold shower pretty bad, a minute or 2 minutes before, and I'm like, I'm not getting in that shit. That shit's ice cold. You do that, and then literally the rest of the day you feel great. And you can compare it against that. Like similar, maybe if you go on a morning run, you probably feel great for the rest of the day. Maybe one, because you did something that's hard and you feel proud of that, but also just because you compare it, maybe like how difficult and excruciating that pain felt, and maybe how you feel just going about your day, like walking to class, talking to people. Have you seen that as well?
No, after my runs, like, that's why I say it's only for like 10 minutes, because after I finish the run and I find that 10 minutes of joy, I'm just thinking, wow, I'm gonna have to do this in 2 days. It's just, yeah, I feel better that every time I do that, I'm getting better at it. I'm more, so I can run for further, for longer. Because at the beginning, I would be completely gassed. Now I'm getting faster and running the entire thing, but still not. That joy of completing the task doesn't last forever. It's going to be gone in seconds because you're going to have to do it again unless you're doing something for one time. And if you do something for one time, it's almost as if you didn't do it because you did it for once and you're never going to be able to do it again. 10
minutes is crazy. I used to enjoy it for a little bit, man. But yeah, man, I think it's different for everyone though, because usually when I do something difficult, I think wrestling is a good example. Like you go to hard practice. I think a lot of people, I feel pretty good after practice for like the hours after, even the next morning until the next practice. I mean, maybe for you, do you think the same thing with wrestling? That after wrestling practice, you think, shit, I gotta do this shit tomorrow. Is it the same thing there?
Kind of. It's a little bit different from wrestling practice because I enjoyed the wrestling part of wrestling practice. So before practice, the thing that's bringing me to practice is that minute of live, and I'm like going to different strategies, and I'm doing one move, it fails, and I immediately go into another move. I loved that, but every other part of practice I didn't like. But that was one of the things that I think helped me stay with it, was the fact that no matter what, even if it was a bad day and it was gas, I knew we were going to have live and it was going to be so much fun. And it's kind of similar for football, because for football, you don't really get that live, which is why it's a lot slower. It feels like, it's what makes game day feel so much more monumental. Obviously, well, it doesn't work here because there's not a lot of people, but at middle school, there's literally thousands of people in the stands. Music blaring the entire time, everyone's cheering for you, it's a lot of fanfare. But still, everything you did that week is leading up to it. It literally feels like you're going down a mountain, you're hit top speed right before the game. You literally sprint out onto the field so you know everything's about to go down right then. So it's a little bit different from wrestling where the hits, even in wrestling's only 6 minutes or 8 minutes at most, those hits are more scattered throughout the day because you're able to wrestle a full wrestling match technically during practice and then do the same thing the next day. That was more of what I was looking forward to. The actual practice itself, yeah, I was dreading that.
Low-key, like, I think wrestling is one unique thing where I low-key enjoy most of practice. I feel like, I mean, same way you feel good during live. I think I like that energy, the energy I feel doing a wrestling practice, it usually feels good. But when I look back at the moments that suck in the season, it's usually like, maybe the moments right before practice because you think it's going to be bad, but then every time I go to practice, it's always so much better than I thought it'd be. Like, and I feel like when it's more difficult, it sucks when you're thinking about how difficult it's going to be in your mind. Like before I went to like elite practice, for example, I know in my mind that I'm stressing out that this shit's going to be hard. But whenever I'm actually there, I feel like I'm so present in the moment during the practice because it's so hard that you have to just be present and just focus on what you're doing. I enter like this different mental state during that practice. I enter like this flow state kind of, which honestly it feels pretty good. And I miss that feeling. I miss that feeling of like being in the middle of like a really, really hard practice. I don't know why it is. Maybe it's like similar to the feeling you get in live, just to draw a parallel, but I don't think it's true for everything. Running, I hate running, and I never feel that when I'm running. Like if I go on like a run on campus, I usually feel like this sucks for most of the time. But I think wrestling is this unique thing where you're in the room and there's like so many people in the room, it's packed. Especially if you go to a room and there's like, it's literally the whole room is just packed, and you just feel like you're in a packed room and you're just going and going nonstop. I don't know, I mean, maybe I enjoy HIIT more, like high intensity stuff, high intensity interval training versus long endurance, but I think there are different things that bring different people that flow state energy. I mean, have you felt that energy before?
No, I really like. People always talk about runner's high. I don't get runner's high. In a football game, I still feel tired during the football game, but it's so much more fun that I ignore the tiredness. Like after, that's another thing in football. Since there's gaps in between every play, you're theoretically able to not really take a break, but you're not going. In that time, I almost am not breathing when I'm doing an actual play, where I don't tell myself to breathe because it's just waiting for that moment and then going. It doesn't feel like a flow state because I still feel tired. After that play, I hit the guy or don't hit the guy, I'm tired after that. But I still get down and do it all over again just because it's fun. I don't feel like, I don't get lost in the sauce. I just do it because like I'm always conscious of what I'm doing. I always aspire to get to that point where one day I can like forget about what I'm doing and just like throw myself fully into it. But I always have to have something draw me to it, which is why before I was able to run with friends, I could never get a full run down because I would always be like, my goal is just to continue running. If my goal is continue running, it just feels like it's going on forever and I'm stopping. Versus when I'm going with my friends, my goal is to stay with them. If not, it's to chase them. And I'm really good at chasing things.
I mean, maybe you don't enter flow state when you're doing athletic activity, but have you entered flow state maybe when you're doing some of your own personal projects that you get so immersed in it, you kind of enter this, I think flow state, it can be described as like this state where you have no thoughts in your mind, like you're so present and obsessed with what you're doing. Maybe you felt that working in some of the other projects you've done, or?
Nah, maybe it's because a lot of projects I do, it takes a lot of mental work to do. Like if you're doing epoxy, you'll know the very first time, except for if it's UV, which I always start with the mixing epoxy. If you mix it wrong, you wasted money. You're thinking about coming out sticky, there's nothing you can do, it's over.
You said epoxy, what is that?
Epoxy is basically when you take two chemicals, there are two chemicals, but you mix them together, and then after you stir it properly, you wait like 3 or 6 hours for the set, and then it's completely clear. It's almost like you're making glass, but it's resin. How do I describe it? I don't know what I could do to relate it. So, one, your glass is made of also glass. Have you ever seen those things where it's like a diorama and there's water in a diorama and there's like an animal inside of that diorama?
What's a diorama?
Okay. What could I relate it to? Have you ever seen a secret wood ring?
A secret wood ring?
Alright, that's another epoxy project. Have you ever seen have you ever been to like an art museum or like an expensive restaurant and you see like the flooring that has like little things inside the floor and it's completely clear?
I think I've seen that.
That's usually epoxy. That's high grade epoxy, but it's epoxy.
Yo, we can pull up a picture if you want.
Sure.
Sorry, this one.
Alright, so this is an epoxy table.
Oh.
So see how this thing almost seems like it's suspended? It's because it is. there's literally this mixture of just two materials basically, which it flows out essentially like water, and after a while it solidifies, and it's completely crystal clear. So you can see all the way through it, but it's unable to be touched because it's covered with epoxy.
Interesting.
In fact, I actually have some epoxy art in my bag.
You want to keep it up?
Oh. I think the audio should still be going.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah. Actually, I have an epoxy project in my bag.
Let's see it.
Right. These were from interviews. Oh. That is technically secret wood, not really. Secret wood is a type of epoxy art. But basically, I took a piece of wood, I carved a hole in it, I burned the hole, and I put an M&M in that, and I covered it with epoxy and let it set. And that one I did with flowers. And how did I do that? I'm not sure if I cut a hole, put the flowers in, and let it set, or if I literally put like a piece of plastic around it to let it set. But either way, this part is just regularly cured. If it cures and you don't sand it, it's see-through. This I started to sand, and you need like a lot of grits to make it see-through. And if I polished it, like I could put water on this, it'll be crystal clear, almost like this. This one I didn't want to sand because I wanted it to be as clear as possible. So I just put on film on either side.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I'm always jealous of people that are just good with art crafts, because I've never been too good with art crafts in particular. I'd say like other types of art, maybe I guess it's a different of art. But yeah, I mean, we're in the art book. Art's always pretty cool. Remind me afterwards, I gotta show you the art colors that different makes people. It's in the hallway over there. But art's interesting, man. I think it can put you in a flow state for some people, I guess. It can just be something that's really enjoyable. Whenever I'm like painting or doing art stuff, it usually gives me like a headache. But you know, it's really cool when I make people so immersed in art.
I mean, it might be just because I'm bad at art, but whenever I'm doing art, like even that's technically art, it's less of just, oh, I'm doing this off of my own work, and like I just like envision it and bam, it's there. I literally map out, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this step, this step, this step. For that one in particular, when it's something so small, if you sand it too much, it'll be gone. Like I have sanded projects so it's like too small to even handle and it's gone. You have to plan out, oh, I'm only going to send this much. If it doesn't look good, I just have to live with it. Or, oh, I'm making this project. Or like if you do furniture design, you're not just throwing things together. You have to make a plan. Oh, I want to do this. It's going to be this length. I'm going to put a screw here. It's all of this. For me, no matter when I do art, I have to break it down like that, or else it's going to fail. Because I'm not great with art. I guess there are people who are able to eyeball everything. Like with baking, I've gone to the point in baking now that I can make a batch of bread just there. I don't have to measure it out. I just say, oh, that's enough. That's enough flour, bam, we got it, it's done. I can do it by eyeball. When I started out, it would never work. It would end up all sticky and stuff. It would never be able to combine together. Now I know the steps of how to do that without having to measure out everything. But in the beginning, if you just follow a recipe, follow a tutorial exactly to the letter, and you fail, and you do it again until you get it right, and you keep doing it again. It's going to be expensive if you do a lot of work, or if you do it with like the minimal base materials, it'll just look really weird. But after a while, you're going to want to get to the point where you can make it at a higher level. Like for that, I can make an epoxy project and have it done tomorrow with just the epoxy I have in my dorm, just because I know all the little things. But I had to come out knowing all those things. I had to fail a bunch of times. I had to learn. I had to see, oh, this is how it works. If I have it in this temperature, it's going to fail. If I have it in the sunlight, it's going to fail. If I don't sand it, it's going to fail. If I don't mix it exactly perfectly, it's going to fail. If I don't mix it into 2 cups, it's like here's the problem. When you're mixing 2 epoxies, it has to be almost the exact same, or it's going to be sticky when it sets. So it actually means that if you take in 2 cups and you pour one into the other cup, the residue that's left in that cup means that they weren't the same level, even if they were the same level before you poured it. So your best bet is to pour them both into the same, if you pour them both into 1 cup versus pouring one into the other. But then you run into a problem where the viscosity, if one's more viscous than the other one, more is going to go into the cup. So there's so many things you have to just learn over and over and over again. It's not innate. You just keep learning over and over until you learn how to do it properly. You know the steps. And after you know the steps, you do that off of memory, and you're able to make more and more changes.
Yeah, I mean, that's with anything, man. Like practice. You don't see everything until you've done so many of them, right? If I look back at my first podcast or second podcast versus the 27th podcast, I know there's hundreds more to come, but there's like so much more you just see just by doing them, right? Just like hard force, doing as much as possible. You see all these different intricacies about how all these different factors that go into it. But How do you find the time to do all that you do?
I just do it at random points. I mean, I went to a day school before this, so there was obviously a time I went home and I had more time on weekends to do stuff. But really, it was never just, oh, I would sit down for hours at a time. But also, like, you usually have time to do things more. Like, obviously, you should take away some of your sleep, which it sounds crazy. Oh, I just want to sleep less. But like, say if you take out 30 minutes of your sleep, or you work late into the night, yeah, you're going to be tired in the morning. But have you ever been like, by lunchtime, you're no longer tired. It's just annoying in the beginning, but after a while, it's not going to be that bad. So you'll find that hour then. Or if you have a little bit of that and you design it during school, or you design it on like your lunch, and then you just do a little part of it one day and the next part of it the next day, and you get all the stuff, and then just you do it in like sections, you'll have the time to do it. Because like there's a lot of time you have. Like right now, say you were the time you took to run to lunch. If you ate lunch a lot faster without talking to people and you sprinted over to your dorm, that's time you've just gotten. So if you section out your day and you say, oh, I want to put this amount of time, even if it's small, over and over and over again, it'll build up till it makes a large project. Like I always jokes, my first ever epoxy project I ever gave to someone was a cross. It was a green epoxy cross. I think it may have taken me like 150 hours to make in total. I think it may have taken me like a week in total of 150 hours in a week. But still, it took me a lot longer. Like if I did that same project now, it probably only took me 6 hours of work total. But still, it wasn't literally like I sit there, stayed up 100 hours working on it. It was, oh, I did a few hours this day, I did a few hours this day. The longest part was sanding it, because I sanded it for literally not 3 days straight as in I worked through it 3 days, but for 3 separate days, I was just sanding it for hours and hours on end. And even though now, that skills that I took to make that, I now know that I can make the exact same project in way less time because of all the steps that I did, the failures I did, I literally made the mold from scratch. I failed the mold multiple times. Versus now, I'll never fail a mold. I'll make the mold first try. If you take time, like just section out time in your day, you'll find the time. Especially if it takes you a long time. It'll take you like a month to do something, maybe, even if you took it in 30-minute intervals, but you'll still find time eventually.
Yeah, one of the worst excuses I've heard people make about the reason why they can't do something is, I don't have the time. I've always hated that because I think the reframe I went through is that if I say I don't have time for something, I reframe it to, it's not a priority. Because if you really are obsessed with trying to get a goal, if you're trying to really achieve something, maybe it's an epoxy project, for example, you'll find the time. There's so much time in your day that I don't think people realize is wasted, whether it be like the time it takes to transition from activity to activity, or even time you just spend lazing around on your phone or some shit. Like there's so many hours a day that are gone, just wasted, that that's not necessarily always a bad thing if you're okay with that, but if there's something you really, really want and your excuse is I don't have the time, you can make that time.
Yeah, I get it. Because there are some people where it's not efficient for them to do it. Like, for instance, video games. I bought a few video games recently, and I have to tell myself, yeah, it's going to take me like a month to finish these video games because I still have to do all of my homework. Meaning at any given time I have 30 minutes to do it. Meaning I have to fire up the thing, and I have it on PS4, so the PS4 takes forever. And it's like the last games on the PS4, so it takes like 5 minutes to load each and every like time I like enter and go exit the game. I start building in the game. So I know it's going to take me forever to do that, but I still have like, if I theoretically want to, I could say, all right, I'm going to set away time for homework. I'm going to do the game while homework. It's just not a great decision. So there are people who there is time, like it's not efficient for them to spend time on it. Because there are things that they love more. Theoretically, yes. If you choose to prioritize what you love, you will have time for everything, as long as you're still able to live. Because at a certain point, you're going to be prioritizing away things that you also enjoy. Like if you prioritize too much time to doing something, you will just stay up the entire night doing it. That will take away from the rest of your day, and you will have a negative effect at the end. So yeah, there are some things that like it's too time consuming to do, but a lot of times you are right. If they want to put in the time to do it and they're willing to sacrifice other things, they're able to set aside time to do that.
Yeah, as long as you know the trade-offs. You can be conscious about, it can be everything, but you're definitely capable of more than you think. And everything has a trade-off, but it's all about that balance. Why was the game against St. Joe's Hamilton so special to you?
All right, so St. Joe's Hamilton is, I don't even know where they are anymore. There's some St. Joe's and there's several St. Joe's in New Jersey, and they were really big. And this was my first year playing varsity. It's maybe been my third or fourth game of varsity. My first ever game was against St. Augustine, who was number 8 in the state at that point. So I was used to going up against larger kids. But this was the first one where I was actually getting in the mood for varsity and knew, all right, this is what I want to do, this is my plan, I've been training, this is what I trained for, we want to do this. So we go up to St. Joe's, I think it was played at Rowan actually. It was like a comedy of errors. First things first, my coach literally planned out, just like Coach Frank, he planned out every single thing what was going to happen during the game. Like literally, down to the minute, special teams are going to go out to practice now, then the O-line, then the D-line, down to the minute, everything. So it was hilarious where we were 20 minutes away from the game and said, all right, specials out, because we were so late. We got onto the field. By the time we got onto the field, it should have already been second quarter. So we go on, speed run a pregame practice, or a pregame warm-up, and then run out into the fields. It's their senior night, all right? Their senior night, they throw out so much smoke, the game couldn't start for like another 2 minutes after they do their warm-up. They had like a giant chucky ball coming out. Either way, another thing, there was only 13 players on this team. Mind you, on every side of a football game, there's 11 players, offense and defense. They had 13 active players, meaning every single person played offense and defense and special team, including the quarterback. Their quarterback was their free safety, and they still whooped us. How? Because they were great players. But on top of that, they loved to play. They weren't just like, because there were so little of them, they had to keep trying. If you play Hun will just run straight through you, because they have so many players that they're just going to be like, some guys waiting, all right, they're going out into the field and they're going to play for a little bit and then come out, and just because they're out strengthening you. These guys were grinding, they were running at you, they were really ready to play. And it was one of those things where I could feel that, yes, we weren't going to win this game, but we were still always in that game. I distinctly remember this one time where the quarterback fumbled a snap, and running back, and he knocked the ball out of his hand. I thought it was a fumble. I run towards to get the ball and I trip. And literally on the field, you can see me jump from the ground to reach for the ball. I still didn't get it. My teammate ended up grabbing it, running down the field. The ref called it off. The very next drive, we're playing them on their in the red zone, and these guys are great football players, like super athletic. Someone hits the running back so hard, the ball pops up and literally goes straight into the air. Our fattest, largest lineman, he can't run it for anything, catches the ball and starts running. He's like 6'5", all right, and he's huge. He starts running towards the end zone at like 2 miles per hour. The other guy was the quarterback, who's like, he must have been like 5'7" or something like that. Literally jumps up, pops the ball out of it. The other guy takes it and runs it back down. The ball got turned over twice in one play. The game was just, it was so insane. Everyone was trying so much. I just loved that game.
I think that's the beauty of sports. You know, you look back at all these memories you have. There's just days like that, days where there's just so many random shit happening, errors happening, things you wouldn't expect. And I've not been quite the athlete in my time as a person on this earth, I would say, because I really got, like, wrestling is the main sport I've ever played. And I'm not like super great at wrestling, but I started that sophomore year. But it's really, if I look back at sports activities, things like that, like that's the main thing. But I can even look back at the season and last 2 seasons. There's always like those moments in those days where, I don't know what it is, but the energy of the sporting event day, when you're just going out against a team, that energy is always there, and it's so much fun. It's so entertaining to watch your teammates go out and also just be there as someone on the field, supporting your team and doing something that's so great. But I don't know what it is. There's something so special about that. I haven't felt that kind of energy anywhere else.
Well, for one, it's because this school doesn't have as strong athletics as my old school. Two, the people who play athletics don't really, just like you, they don't love the sport, because their kids on the old team, again, as I said, they weren't great at football. They weren't natural born athletes. And also, at middle school, you weren't required to play a sport. If you wanted to quit, you could quit any day you wanted. And there were kids who quit. These kids on varsity loved to play. That was just what they loved to do. So everything they did, they put their energy into it, they put their love into it. And the crowds, they just love to be there. So there was just that, you get that energy that just draws you back to it. And our coach was also so energetic in everything he does. He was like 60 years old, literally 60 years old. On my senior year, we celebrated his 60th birthday. And he would still sprint with us every single time, without fail. Literally, our sprinting system was, we would sprint with him, and if we ever had a single player run across the field slower than him, that rep didn't count. And he'll hold us to that. We'll have to do 12 reps or something, and he's an endurance runner, so he won't slow down. So we'll keep going over and over and over again and run away the entire practice just because someone's getting tired. It was just that this school doesn't have that level of we're going to throw ourselves into athletics because everyone here is trying so hard for academics, and obviously the school's a lot more expensive. But also, you guys just don't have that athletic base because even the football players here who come from other schools, there's less of that energy behind it because there is 5 people in the crowds. I'm used to having thousands of people in the crowds. There were stands. The school puts money towards it. The school might put more money towards their athletic association than my old school, but they don't get any. There's less give back from that. My old school, we got money because people came to the games, they charged for the games, there was concession stands on either side, they charged for that, advertising, people sponsored, there was so much money for those. It doesn't really happen here because there's 5 people at the game. We're going to the middle of nowhere where no one really cares. It's like, it's just, athletics here aren't the same.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that perspective because I've only gone to small schools all my life, so that's what I've seen, but it's amazing to hear those stories, man. Forbes, thank you so much for coming down tonight. Really enjoyed this conversation. Anything else you want to close with?
No.
All right, man. Well, looking forward to seeing you in the Vaughn more times this spring as we get ready for the great things you'll go on to do in college. But it's great knowing you, and thank you for coming down.
Nice to be here.
If you enjoyed that episode, then you're going to love this episode right here. Make sure you click here to watch that video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.